Hey, this is Mark with the Practical Still. We're going to open up another bottle. This is a Maker's Mark. It's a private select, a single barrel from a store here in Colorado called Molly's. I don't know how long I've had it. I really don't remember buying it because I don't think I did. I think a friend of mine was in the store, saw it, asked if I wanted one, and picked it up for me. I like Maker's Mark whiskey, even the standard old Maker's Mark. It's a little, it's a little light. I think it's at 90 proof, but it's a little thin down there. But the Maker's 46 is nice. I've had plenty of their single barrel offerings. They're delicious. But I'll tell you what, it's complicated. They've got so many different variants of whiskey. Even with this, it's a private select oak Staves selection. So you've got the whiskey that's been aged, and then you get to figure out which other types of oak staves you want to drop in there with it and let it age. This one had 3 baked American Pure 2 staves, 2 seared French Cuvée staves, and 5 roasted French mocha staves. I like processes, and I like digging into the details, and I like nerding out on stuff. But at some point, I just want to drink the whiskey, and I can't keep up with all these. They've got all on these other selections, they've got all these codes and letters. I can't keep up with that. But every time I drink Maker's Mark, I really like it. In fact, I've got a friend who we do bourbon drinking on the patio. Not a lot lately, but when we do, we're out drinking outside. He's always got some higher proof single barrel version of Maker's Mark going. I always have a sip. I always love it. So I think this is going to be good, but let's find out. It's a wheated bourbon, in case you don't know. Wheat in the mash bill instead of rye, so corn, wheat, and malted barley. That's Maker's Mark's thing, as is the red bottle wax. Now, Maker's Mark will aggressively defend this if other people get a little too close to that hand-dipped look with their wax. And they do hand-dip every one of these bottles, so these little wax things you see here, that's going to be different in every bottle. We all know I don't like bottle wax, but there's some brands that, it's just iconic. I certainly would never want, as much as I want other bottle to just leave that off, if Jim Beam could just leave that stuff off of their bottles, I would appreciate it. If Evan Williams didn't have it on the little vintage bottles, I'd appreciate it. But it just wouldn't be Maker's Mark without bottle wax. And I'll tell you what, of all the ones you'll do, about the only thing I can really complain about with these is that little piece of tape down there, which is important because that's what pulls the wax apart when you open it. But it is sticky and gets on my hands, and I'm going to complain about it either way. But the wax is soft. It stays together. It doesn't crack very often, even out here in Colorado. This bottle's been in my cabinet for at least 2 years, sitting there not doing anything. So as far as bottle wax goes, that's okay. I would have thought they'd had a natural cork. Oh yeah, think about wheated bourbon. It seems like, because I'm a wheated bourbon fan, and Maker's Mark never lets you down. If you can find any Weller, never lets you down. Larceny, never lets you down. But I'll tell you, it must be really hard to do wheated bourbon well because a lot of the smaller distilleries, it just doesn't work. This always works. Oh man, what a burst of vanilla and cinnamon. Yeah. Ooh, and oranges too. That's just delicious. Unlike you expect in a wheated bourbon, not spicy like a high rye bourbon. This one's got lots of flavor. I said I didn't really understand or follow all the oak stave stuff, but there's definitely some different oak influence in that. I have to go back and look at those particular staves and see if it aligns with what I'm tasting. But there's definitely a sweeter oak up front. The whiskey in general is softer because of the wheat versus the rye being spicy. It's got a deliciously cinnamon sweet finish. So while I don't really follow or try and keep up with the 478 combinations of wood they seem to use in these days, I do like the whiskey, and I think you would too if you like wheated bourbons. If you haven't gotten into wheated bourbons, it's worth a try because they are definitely different than bourbons whose middle ingredient is rye versus wheat. Give it a try. Those are the brands that are easily available. Weller's not easily available, but if you find it, Weller, Larceny you can find any day. You can also find lots of Larceny store picks. in the 92 proof version. I don't think they've done store picks in their barrel proof, but that barrel proof larceny, tasty. But Maker's Mark. Maker's Mark's been around forever. If the book I read about Pappy, but always find bourbon, written by one of his granddaughters, after Prohibition, Maker's Mark was kind of out of business, and Pappy gave him some yeast and like $5,000 to get started again. I don't know if that's true, but I do know they've been around a long time. They make fabulous whiskey. It's worth drinking in whatever variant you can find. Forgive me if I can't keep up with all the different ones. I just like drinking the whiskey. I think you will too. Cheers.